Problem 7, a boy visiting Chicago views the Sears Tower from a point on the ground which is 1,240 feet from the base of the building. So there's the building, and the boy is at a point on the ground 1,240 feet from the base of the building. So there's the boy, and the question says the angle of elevation to the top of the building is 49 degrees. What is the height of the building? So there's x to the nearest foot. Well, here the angle is 49. I label my picture the hypotenuse. Since my angle is 49, x is going to be the opposite, and the 1240 is going to be the adjacent. So here I have the opposite and the adjacent, so that's going to be a tangent question. So here I have the tangent of an angle equals opposite over adjacent, the TOA. So here I have the tangent of the angle, and the angle is 49 degrees. That equals the opposite, which is x, over the adjacent, which is 1,240. And here, since the x is in the numerator, I'm going to just cross multiply. So here I have 1 times x, which is x. That equals 1,240 times the tangent of 49. So I'm going to do on my calculator 1,240 times the tangent of 49. Anytime we find a side of a triangle, we always go to the nearest tenth. Anytime we find an angle of a triangle, we go to the nearest minute. So here, if this was an exam, the height of the building is 1,426.5 feet. So of all the answer choices that were given, it looks like here our answer is going to be letter C, 1426. Problem 8, the angle of depression from an object on the ground is 14 degrees from the top of the tallest building in the world. So there's my building, here's my triangle, so there's the building over here, and it says the angle of depression, which officially is right here, but we're always going to label our angle of depression as the same as the angle of elevation. So it says the tallest building of the world, which is 1,483 feet high. So I'm going to label the 1,483 as this height. What is the distance from the object, so the object's on the ground, to the base of the tower? So there's my x. So here my angle is going to be 14 degrees. I label my picture, so I have the hypotenuse. Here, since the angle is 14 degrees, the 1,483 is opposite. And then that makes the x the adjacent. So here I have opposite and adjacent. This is going to be an example of the TOA, or the tangent rule. So I know the tangent of an angle equals opposite over adjacent. So here I have the tangent, and the angle is 14 degrees. That equals the opposite, which is 1,483, over the adjacent, which is x. So here, since the x is in the denominator, I'm going to be using that switcheroo rule, where I'm going to take the x and the tangent of 14 and switch places. So here I'm going to have x equals 1,483 divided by the tangent of 14. Again, I'm using the switcheroo rule because the x is in the denominator. So here I have, since I'm finding a side, I'm going to round to the nearest tenth. The 8 is going to kick the 9 up to 0, and then that 0 is going to make the 7 and 8. So here, if this was an exam, my answer would be 5,948.0. This particular question says the nearest foot, so there you go, letter D, 5,948. Problem 9, the top of a ladder leaning against a building. So here I have my ladder, and then I have the building. And it says the top of a ladder leaning into the building reaches a point on the building which is 29 feet above the ground. So my ground is the horizontal distance. So we're reaching a point on the building 29 feet above the ground. So 29 is going to be that side. If the base of the ladder is 7 feet from the building, well, there's the ladder. The base is on the bottom. The base is 7 feet from the building. So this bottom side along the ground is going to be 7. What is the measure of the angle that the ladder makes with the level ground? So here is going to be my x. So here the angle is going to be x. I label the picture. The ladder is the hypotenuse. And since my angle is x, this 29 is going to be the opposite. So here my angle is x. The angle is x. 29 is opposite. And then this 7, the ground, is going to be the adjacent. So here, since I have opposite and adjacent, this is going to be an example of a TOA or tangent question. So here I know the tangent of an angle equals opposite over adjacent. So the tangent of the angle, and here the angle is x, so tan x equals the opposite, which is 29, over the adjacent, which is 7. And here, since I'm finding an angle, I'm going to first press the second button. So here I'm going to go second and then tangent, the fraction 29 over 7. And then I have to remember to always DMS my answer. So here it looks like my answer is 76.4-ish. And now I'm going to press second and apps and option 4 to DMS the answer. Anytime we find an angle, we always round to the nearest minute. So here I have 76 degrees, 25 minutes, 46.4 seconds. And my rule is going to be to look at my seconds. And if it's 30 or more, I always round up. So if this was a test, my answer would be 76 degrees and 26 minutes. Now this particular question here said, what is the answer to the nearest degree? So that would be 76 degrees. But anytime we find an angle on an exam, we always round to the nearest minute. Finally, number 10, Brian and Adam are standing at some distance apart on the same side of a building, 50 meters tall. So here they're telling you the height is 50. From where Adam stands, the angle of elevation is 30. So there's Adam, and the angle of elevation is 30. From where Brian stands, the angle of elevation is 60. What is the distance between Adam and Brian? So here they're asking you to solve for this distance here. So here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to use some trigonometry to figure out the distance from Brian to the building. So I'm going to call that y. I'm going to use this black triangle, which I'm going to reproduce here. So I have 60, this is y, and this is 50. In this black triangle, the angle is 60 degrees. There's the hypotenuse. Since the angle is 60, 50 is opposite. And then y, this distance here, is going to be the adjacent. So first I'm going to use the tangent to figure out the distance from Brian to the building. So I have the tangent, TOA, of the angle equals opposite over adjacent. So here I'm going to have the tangent of 60 equals the opposite, which is 50, over the adjacent, which is y. Here I'm going to use that switcheroo rule because the y is in the denominator. So here I have y equals 50 over the tangent of 60. So this is going to be the distance from Brian to the base of the building. So here it looks like Brian is 28.9 feet from the building. So this distance here is 28.9. That's not what the question was asking. The question was asking how far is Adam from Brian. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use trigonometry on the big triangle. I'm going to figure out what the distance from Adam to the building is. I know Brian to the building is 28.9. Now I'm going to try to figure out Adam's distance to the building. So in the big yellow triangle, my angle is going to be 30 degrees. Here's the right angle for the building, so this entire side is going to be the hypotenuse. I know the height of the building, that's still going to be opposite. So I know 50 is the opposite, and I'm trying to figure out how far that distance is, which if this is my angle, and this is opposite, then this whole bottom is going to be the adjacent. So maybe I'll call that Z. So Z is going to be the adjacent. This is another example of tangent or TOA, because I know the tangent of an angle equals opposite over adjacent. So the tangent of 30 equals 50 over Z. Again, I'm going to use that switcheroo rule because my x, or in this case my z, is in the denominator. So I have z equals 50 over the tangent of 30. And when I do that on my calculator, I get 86.6. So now think about what I have going on. I have Adam is over here. I have Brian, and then I have the building. I know that Brian is 28.9 from the building. I know that Adam, this entire bottom, is 86.6 feet from the building. But the question said, what is the distance from Adam to Brian? So here, since this entire bottom is 86.6, and this distance is 28.9, the distance from Adam to Brian is 86.6 minus the 28.9. And if I do that on my calculator, that's going to be 57.7. Because if this is 57.7, then 57.7 plus the 28.9 gives me the 86.6. Which means here, my answer is going to be letter A.